This is super important to me. I've done a lot of different things over the years, and nothing that I've done in the past has brought me the amount of joy and passion that I have for what it is that I do. If you look around, I mean, you have everything from modern day stuff to vintage to motorcycles. Like, I don't really discriminate, if you will, against certain eras of vehicles or anything like that, or bikes. Like, metal is metal in my mind, and I just love the art of metal shaping and the art of hot rodding and car building in general. Alrighty, so here we are in my shop, Dexterous Engineering. This is kind of what I got going on in here. This is the first bike I ever built about 8 years ago. It's a Yamaha SR250 with a turbocharger. Full frame up build, built it from scratch and everything with pretty much just what I had. I originally built this bike to kind of show what my skills were and what I was capable of doing with just building a bike. I took it out to Bonneville last year just to cruise around on, and while I was out there, there was a few friends of mine that were sitting there pretty much saying like, dude, you gotta race that thing. The plan is now to do a full rebuild on it, make it so it can actually pass tech inspection, do some new internal work in the motor, turbo setup, the whole 9 yards. But we're going for the blown 250cc class on gas. I think the record at the moment is 134, so we're gonna try and beat that. This is just a quick in and out job. This one, I just need to do some fender work for this fender. This had a little bit of damage on the front end, so the fender's sitting over there, and that was just a quick, easy in and out. I grew up in the era of overhauling, rides, Monster Garage. I got a lot of influence from the guys that were on those shows. I always liked cars as a kid and everything, but once I was introduced to those shows, it opened up this whole other world for me of you can do this kind of stuff and like make a living and have fun and make really cool stuff. Like, that was total eye-opener for me. I went on a quest and I hit up every single hot rod shop that I knew of at the time to try and get a job. Ended up interviewing with Hollywood Hot Rods. Somehow landed a position there with next to no experience, aside from the fact that I could fabricate and weld. Left there and then got a job at Ironworks Speed and Custom in Bakersfield. And that's kind of more the shop that I cut my teeth on. Went to SEMA in 2014, somehow ended up in a conversation with Dave Kindig from Kindig at Design. We got to talking, I got invited out for an interview, landed a job at Kindig at Design. I worked there for 3.5 years. I learned a ton while I was there from those guys. That's where I really started to kind of push myself and excel with metal shaping. I'm not just a fabricator anymore. I am now a metal shaper, if you will. So, and now we're here. This truck here, this is the build that we're doing through Hammers and Hops, which is a party that I put on at SEMA every year. It's a fabricators meet and greet party. Done this thing in recent years to where we've teamed up with the Jesse Combs Foundation. This truck was a truck that Jesse and her fiance Terry Madden were gonna build together as their shop truck, and she never had the opportunity to. So now we're taking this truck and we're gonna be teaching classes throughout the entirety of it, using this as what it was and what Jessie wanted to do with it, because she wanted to keep it as a utility truck. And so, like, there's the original utility bed over there. You can see the old school utility bed that it had on it. Not too many people really like those. I dig them, I think they're cool. We want to open it up to a broader audience because eventually we are going to auction this truck off, and we know that not everybody likes a utility bed. So I teamed up with my old boss and good friend Dave Kindig, and he and I came up with the plan of throwing the original style side bed back on and then converting it into a utility bed. There's a skills gap, that's a known fact. And so what we're trying to do is help kind of fill in that skills gap by giving people a leg up with coming in, building that personal relationship with myself and other industry pros. That gives them just a little bit of a leg up and a little bit of an advantage over somebody who doesn't. And they get to work on a really cool truck. Once it's all done, it's gonna be auctioned off. All of the proceeds from when it's auctioned are gonna be allocated and donated to the Jesse Combs Foundation, All Kids Bike, the Peterson Museum, and the SEMA Memorial Scholarship Fund. We've got great partners and sponsors who are a part of this build, including Baileigh Industrial. Thank you, Baileigh. So this is a 1970 Bronco. If you notice, it's extra wide in this area here where normally it's not. So we were converting this truck into a 4-door Bronco with a hardtop. We didn't want to just lengthen it. We were actually widening it 8 inches as well. So this is a build that I was doing the metal work on for Fat Fender Garage. Completely had to deconstruct what was originally done, reconstruct the bed, reconstruct the cab, everything with the widened stance now. Sadly, this one is going back to its owner here this weekend. So that's why everything's boxed up inside of it. This here is our Baileigh H-Press. I think it's got a load rating of like 30,000 US tons. This thing is a beast. It's really cool because, I mean, obviously you can adjust the height and everything like that. It's air over hydraulic, but there's also a manual option as well. On top of that, you have your standard dies. If you're working on stuff that's not necessarily centered, you can move this thing around. I've done stuff with these in the past with sheet metal stamps. Let's say you need to stamp like a logo into something. You can do a male and female. You stick it in here and then you sandwich those 2 pieces together and you just start pressing it and working it in increments. I've had a relationship for a few years with Baileigh through everything that I've done with hammers and hops. They've always been a huge supporter of hammers and hops. And so we've always had that really good relationship with working with each other. 70 to 80% of the shops that I was traveling to always had some sort of Baileigh equipment in it, whether it was like an MH19 hammer or just a power hammer or just even your basic like shrinker stretcher stuff and shear. And putting together my list for everything that I needed in here, it was kind of a no-brainer that I was going to go to Baileigh for what I needed because I knew that the quality was there. The time and efficiency part of it comes into play when you're doing stuff at this level because time is money. And so to be able to have the equipment to do this stuff quickly and efficiently, like, I'm all about it. This is pretty much my home away from home, my metal shaping sanctuary, if you will. This is pretty much a combination of tools that I bought and collected and had given to me over the years. This was originally a Harbor Freight English wheel that got heavily modified into, I believe it's a metal lace frame. These work really good for motorcycle gas tanks because they're nice and skinny. Go from that to this Dual. I picked this up here in Utah for 150 bucks. And originally this was a band filer. So pretty much like imagine a bunch of files on a band. It came across this way and you'd feed stuff in this direction or across this way. But everything worked from this side of the machine. And the previous owner converted this into an actual bandsaw. We've got the Ameribraid belt sander here, the Baileigh Industrial bead roller. This thing's badass. I mean, it's 36-inch throat. I got a bunch of extra dies for it. I use this thing quite a bit just for forming different things, doing different bead profiles, tipping edges. Now I find myself using it more often than not. So this thing's awesome. So then this is the Pexto station. It's all original Pexto stuff from the 40s and 50s. I picked this up from a local guy down just outside of Cedar City. All said and done, 1,500 bucks. So I kind of stole everything. Baileigh, if you will, was one of the like big shot influencer companies to really hit social media and take advantage of what social media can really do for not only a business, but an industry as a whole. They've helped small guys become big guys. They've helped big guys become even bigger guys. This kind of community, like you have the Baileigh radar, to where like you've now gotten their attention, and so they're gonna help put you on blast. To have a company of that caliber backing you up, like that's a huge deal. I mean, I know it is for me. This is Beverly shear. This is used for cutting straight lines, curved lines in large panels or just even small panels. You can stomp something out on the stomp shear, and then instead of going in with your snips, you can just come in and clean something up nice and quick and even. This is my own custom little stainless trim working station. So this is like a custom die that I made for doing stainless trim. These go in here, and you put the little trim in there, and then you can do all of your little hammer and dolly work. And it works pretty good. This is the JRM, the X45 planishing hammer. Redesigned the original Milwaukee style planishing hammer. You can take this top part off of this hoop, put it on one of those other hoops, and then use any of these dies. Yeah, I love this machine. All right, so then you got the planishing hammer there, and then we have our shrinker and our stretcher here. Learned the hard way over the years of only having one. It's so much easier just to be able to, like, especially if you're doing like quick flange work, you can do all your shrinking real fast over here. If you go a little bit too far, just walk right over, tap, 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 move on. This is the PH19 VS. It's pretty much Baileigh's version of like a Polmax reciprocating machine. So this technically is a reciprocating machine, meaning that the dies don't actually come together and create an impact like it does on the power hammer. This machine is used for forming. I have thumbnail shrinking dies, which this machine works great at. Majority of the time, this is my shrinking machine. It does quick work, and it's all foot pedal work, so you can still walk with a pedal and move around and walk with your panel if you've got a big one. You've got an adjustable fence back here. And then when I say like forming, this is what I mean. And so like, this is a bead profile. And what these do is once you get them mounted into the universal tool mount there, get them locked in, get them lined up, and then they come together like this, and then you just feed the material through, and every so often turn it up more and more, and slowly but surely you'll actually create this form that you know is exact to what you need to make it to for the car. And then you got Big Bertha, as I like to call it. So this is a power hammer. This is the PH28 HD VS, and VS is for variable speed, and it's a heavy hit. I mean, I don't think I have the stroke maxed out all the way, but I mean, you run this thing full blast, and it's not quiet. And so I went through, I put dynamated the inside of that. I've actually gone through and filled each of these tubes with sand. The rears, I've gotten 2 so far. Any of those hollow tubes, like you can hear it, like there's a good amount of ring coming off of each of those tubes. So I think that my legacy, if I have control over it, I want to be able to pass things down to my kid and have that respect from my kid that I have for my dad. The person who's been supportive and had my back has been my wife. I just want to be that godly man to her. Other industry people that have come into my life that have taught me other things that my dad couldn't necessarily teach me. And I'd like to do that for others.